Right now, we have the change on 2 days ago. So on Monday, the sun moved into the gate 12 and the earth moved into the gate 15. The main energy in the whole chart is being lit up. That's being lit up is the knowing circuit. And so the gate 12 is the expression of the knowing circuit in being able to bring through the insights and the inspirations that are coming in through the 6124, which is also lit up this week. And then it moves all around the chart, and then it can express itself through the 12. The 12 is on the throat center. The throat center is the center for expression, for initiating, and for manifesting. And so this energy is about being able to express and to create in our lives. The thing about the 12, and like everything really in the knowing circuit, and especially the 6124 that's coming in from the head into the ajna, is that it's plugged into superconsciousness. It's individual circuitry. It's here to be different. It's here to bring change. It's here to be innovative and to be on the leading edge. And as such, it's not rational, it's not reasonable, it's not logical, it's not something that you ever learned in a book or anything like that, or that you can even check. Like, you can't quantify it, you can't go do research on it, because it's coming in directly from superconsciousness and expressing itself that way. And so you need to be discerning about when you share the information that's coming through, when you share it, and with whom, so that it's not falling on deaf ears, or it's not coming across as something wacky or crazy, but it's actually being able to be received by others so that they can take it in and it can help them to move forward in their lives. So this is something that's being lit up by the sun right now. You may have it defined in your chart or not. I have it defined in my chart. In traditional human design, it's known as the gate of caution. And I think the reason that it's known as caution is that it's super potent. It's a super potent energy, and it can bring in kind of mind-blowing ideas and mind-blowing perspectives and inspirations. And so you need to be cautious about when you share that. In quantum human design, it's known as the gate of the channel. And it's particularly a channel when it's a defined gate on an open throat. So for all of us this week who have open throats, then whether you have it defined on the 12 is defined or not, you're going to have an extra ability to actually channel, to even prophesy, to be receiving downloads from non-physical. If you already work with some guides or angels, or what I call your upstairs team, you may be receiving extra support to be expressing. And my suggestion, and this is going to be true for where the earth is also, but my suggestion is that you have a notebook and that you write down what's coming through, so that you allow that channel to be open and that you're able to capture what's coming through. And then you can decide later if and when you want to share it and with whom, so that it is at the right time, in the right place, where it can be received and utilized and really valued. So that's what you want to do with what's coming through the 12. I can say for myself, like I said, I have the 12 defined on an open throat. And so one of the ways that shows up for me, for example, is I'm an exceptional mimic. Like, I can mimic other people's voices really well. And I've been able to do that my whole life. And I think it's because when I hear somebody's voice, I sort of take it in and have a little imprint from it. And then I can express it back out again. And this is completely unconscious. This is not something that I think about or that I have to intend to do. It's just, it's like a superpower really that I have available to me at any time. And I also have done a lot of channeling through the course of my life. I'm an Awakening Your Light Body teacher, which is a channeled body of work by Snea Roman and Dwayne Packer, which I highly recommend. When I taught that work, I would channel a group of guides called shaman, and they brought through the energies of that particular work. And that was something, again, that was easy for me to do because of the way this is configured in my chart. So for you, you want to see, are you defined in the gate 12 or not? And if you are not defined, then you'll have extra ability to be checking out what this superpower is all about. And then if you have it defined, one of the things is to look at, are you expressing more of the awakened aspect of it? Or are you expressing more of either the shadow or the disempowered aspect of it? Some visionary teachers can be this way. It's like they have this vision and they use it to try to control other people or to try to gain power, right? And so you might want to think about that. That's a lower expression. Or it could be to be afraid of and not be willing to express the insights and the information and the inspirations that come to you from non-physical, and you might not feel like they're valid. If you're too in your logical mind, too in your left brain, you might be really kind of going, that's just BS. I don't know what that all does. So I'm just going to let it, So that would be your disempowered aspect. So if either of those are true for you, you have the opportunity now, while the sun is lighting up that gate, to help shift your relationship to that energy and see if you can move it into a deep appreciation for and honoring of really this ability that you have to be able to be picking up and expressing and then even initiating on and manifesting with the energy of that 12, which is what's coming in through super consciousness, through the knowing circuit. But again, you want to do this when it's the right time and with the right people. So the earth is lighting up the gate 11. So the gate 11 is part of the sensing circuit, and it's the gate of ideas. And one of my very best friends has this defined in her chart, and I've done readings for a number of people who have this defined in their chart. And people who have this often have many ideas. Like sometimes it's overwhelming for them. Sometimes it's just like, oh my God, I've got so many ideas. I don't know what to do with all of them. So again, let's go back to this idea of this notebook, right? So that you can just be, as the ideas are coming in, you're just writing them down. And then later on, same with the inspirations and the insights that come in through the 12, is you can go back and you can discern. And some of the things you want to be looking for is this idea or is this inspiration for me? Is it for me? And is it for me now? Is it for me now? Is it for me later? Or is it not for me? Because you could be receiving, and chances are you're receiving ideas that are really more for other people. So you can be using your authority to ask yourself, is this for me? Is this for me now? Is it for me later? Is it for someone else? Is it for someone else now or someone else later? Or is it not for anyone yet? Is it really like a revolutionary idea that is not something that the time has come yet? So you can be using your inner authority to be discerning about what's true about all this, because you basically have these two portals that are open right now. And if, like I said, if you already have them defined in your chart, you're already familiar with that, but you have the opportunity to really have this in a higher expression or a more awakened expression. And if you don't, like I don't have the gate 11 defined in my chart. So for me, lots of ideas are coming in and you want to be able to capture them so that you don't get overwhelmed by them. And then you can go back and you can decide later on. If you do have this defined in your chart, it's a good practice for you to do anyway. So that you don't feel too overwhelmed by all of your ideas that are coming in. We've got an interesting kind of dynamic between the 12, which is part of the knowing circuit, which is individual circuitry. And then the 11, which is part of the sensing circuit, which is more collective energy. So they're very different from each other. Like individual circuitry is here to be different. It's here to bring in new ideas. It's here to be innovative. It doesn't fit in. When it's in its confident state, it doesn't really care about fitting in. It knows that it's on that leading edge and it's just this kind of vital evolutionary type of energy. Whereas collective circuitry, it's much more about looking at really a global perspective, the big picture. What can really help and contribute to the larger whole, if you will. And so that's one of the ideas that come in through the 11 are more in that type of circuitry. Collective circuitry is about infrastructure. It's about government. It's about law. It's about transportation system, like the internet, also communication systems. All of those are in the collective circuitry. The ideas that you get are more likely to be falling inside of that kind of collective circuitry. And you may have the energy of that individual circuitry, which is what is happening with the 12, which is on the throat, where as the 11 is on the ajna, it's more cerebral, it's more intellectual. It is in the sensing circuit, which is more right-brained, so it's not a left-brained energy. And so you may have a little bit of tension, creative tension between them, right? And so you just want to play around with that and see how can you get the individual circuitry and the collective circuitry to really dance and inform and help each other rather than to come in conflict about it. So on Saturday this week, the Earth and the Sun are going to move again. So they're going to move into a different gate on Saturday, 19th. And I'm going to talk about that in a second. But I want to make a note here that this Sunday, June 20th, is the solstice. So in the Northern Hemisphere, which is where I am, it's the summer solstice. And in the Southern Hemisphere, where some of you may be, it's going to be the winter solstice. But whichever solstice it is, solstice means that it's this moment when the sun stands still. Because in the Northern Hemisphere, the energy has been expanding. Days have been getting longer and longer and longer, and energy has been expanding massively through springtime. And so the sun is going to stand still, and then it's going to switch, and the days are going to start getting shorter, and we're going to gently start contracting the energy. So it's not going to be a big, huge change where all of a sudden we're going to be in winter, but the energy is going to shift where it's going to start coming in a little bit more. We still have summer ahead of us, and so summer is a huge growth period. There's a lot of growing, and then harvest even comes at the end of the summer. So this is a super powered day that you can use to really give extra energy to your aspirations, to your intentions, to your desires, to your dreams. It's a good time to kind of take a look at where you were from the last solstice, which was in December, and to see what happened for you during this phase of expansion that happened since the winter solstice up until now, the summer solstice, and to kind of take stock of that, to honor and acknowledge yourself for what you've been through what you've created, maybe what you've let go of. And then to have some new intentions for yourself, to have some new desire that's arriving for you, or that is something that you're like I'm in the midst of several projects right now. I don't really want any new projects. I just want to give extra energy to those projects. And so the summer solstice or the winter, this is true for the winter solstice, but in a different way, is to give extra energy to that, to your projects. So, to give yourself a little extra time on your own, and also with other people, if you can arrange that. In the summer solstice, this is traditionally done with like bonfires, fires outside, dancing around the fires, drumming around the fire. And in the winter solstice, for those of you in the Southern Hemisphere, it's often done with fire inside and with candles. And because it's colder, it's not necessarily so much of a bonfire experience, although I don't know, I would love to hear from some of my friends down under about what do you do? What are you going to do for your winter solstice? I would love to know. Okay, so the Earth and the Sun are going to change on the 19th, which is Friday. And the Sun is going to move into the gate 15, and the Earth is going to move into the gate 10. So let's talk about this, because this is significant. So both of these gates are on the G center, which is half of what we used to think of as the heart center. The will center is the other part. So they're both part of the G center. The G center is the center for love and lovability and identity and direction. And so the highest expression of any of the gates on the G center is always going to have to do with love, with a capital L, like a capital Love, and particularly a capital L. It's not about romantic love, although it can be, but it's really about the love that is bigger than any individual experience or any individual expression. Although, of course, it moves through each of us in our own individual way, depending on who we are and what the particular flavor of who you are is. So the sun in the gate 15, the 15 is love of humanity. And so this is a wonderful time for you to be kind of leaning into what is your relationship to humanity, and are you in love with humanity? I think I'll be really honest. I have gone back and forth about my love for humanity and my despair with humanity. When I think about what we have done to the planet, what we've done to our ecosystems, I mean, there's a part of me that really has felt despair about humanity. And I know that that place is not an empowered place. That is a downward spiraling energy, which is not going to support me to be empowered in my life or to be able to do the work that I'm here to do, which is about empowering individuals and humanity onto a more awakened path into our feminine sovereignty. So I have to work with, I don't have the 15 defined in my chart. So I get to take this time to fuel my love of humanity and look at where I might be going down in that, that kind of disempowered state, or a shadow state where I, attack humanity. That's not helpful either, right? What we want to do is foster our love of humanity and find our own specific way of feeling and expressing that, and also how that helps fuel our work in the world, the contribution that we're here to make. And it is part of the logic circuit or the pattern circuit. So it's collective energy. So it's about big, and you think about humanity, it's big, right? It's a global thing. It's not just an individual thing. So it is a part of the big picture. It's also connected to the natural world. The 515, the 15 is half of this channel, is very connected to the natural world. The 15 does have a sense of rhythm to it or cycles to it, but it tends to be irregular, whereas the 5 is more regular, more about the particular cycles and how regular. And if you have that defined in your chart, you will do better if you have regularity in your life. But I bring this up because sometimes we think of this pattern circuit or the logic circuit as only being, as being overly left brain, which it can be, and analytical and strategic and linear and all of that. And the 515 is very connected to the cycles and the patterns of the natural world. And so our love of humanity can be connected to our love for the natural world and our connection to the natural world. And I would encourage you to just lean into that for yourself, starting on Saturday. And we're going to have it through the following Friday. So by the time we talk again next week, we'll still be in that energy. And you can use that in whatever you're going to do for the solstice, which is going to be thinking about what is your love of humanity and how can you expand that for yourself. Now, it's also paired with the earth in the gate 10. The gate 10 is a super, super, super important gate in the human design chart and in your life. So it's known as the gate of self-love, and it's also known as the blame gate. So in its lower expression, in its shadow expression, it's going to be about blaming other people in order to feel better about yourself or in order to feel like you can gain power. Okay, because the shadow, as I talk about it, is always about trying to get power over others. But then the disempowered aspect of it is self-blame, right? And the way that I understand the 10, now I do have the 10 defined in my chart. Saturn is in the 10 for me. So it's been a huge life lesson for me. So the way I think about the 10 is that when we are so judgmental of ourselves, right? There's so much self-blame, so much self-criticism. And I mean, we've all been trained into that, right? I mean, over the years that I've done spiritual growth work and, worked with clients, in healing, the inner wounding. I mean, I always said self-love is the final frontier. It's like you can learn to love other people, you can learn to heal this or that. But when it comes to really loving yourself, forgiving yourself, stopping blaming, criticizing, judging yourself, that's a big, big work to do. And it's vital that we do it. And you have extra support right now to do that because the earth is lighting it up. The way that I understand how this works is when the self-criticism is too painful, then we can turn into blaming others to direct that energy outward in order to kind of calm down some of that pain that we feel from judging ourselves so much. So when you ever find yourself blaming others or blaming self, the best thing you can do is to love yourself. How can I do something loving for myself? How can I find a way to shift out of that criticism? What can I find about myself, something that I love, right? Whether that is something that you did for someone else, or something that you created, or some way that you supported a friend, or some way that you brought beauty into the world. Whatever it is that you can find that you can love about yourself, love and caring, because that'll move you out of blame into this peace. And again, you can lean into love with a capital L, right? To help you, because of course, the flow of life loves you. God loves you. Goddess loves you, right? The universe loves you. So you can lean into the love of spirit that is also here for you. If you have trouble finding it for yourself, you can also lean into the love that other people have for you so that you can find it in yourself. Okay? So grounding yourself in that sense of self-love will enable you then to foster your love of humanity. The thing is if you're really in a state of self-criticism, self-blame, self-hate of yourself, self-loathing, then it's very hard to love humanity because you're part of humanity, right? So our experience of ourselves as individuals and our experience of ourselves as members of a species are always going to be intertwined. And that's what we see in the chart as we move into it on Friday. So just in wrapping up here, I would say to make sure that you are capturing all your ideas and your inspirations and your downloads, because there's a whole bunch of the knowing circuit that's activated right now through Friday. And so that you can have those, you could create like a treasure trove for yourself of all of the different things that are coming in, and relieve yourself of the pressure or the sense of urgency that you might have to share it, because you don't need to share it necessarily, or set up a situation where you can share it and you know it's going to be received. So you're with people who are already attuned to whatever it is that you have to share. And then on Friday, prepare yourself, for the solstice. Decide, how are you going to foster your love of humanity? How are you going to foster the love of yourself? And how is that going to help you build a foundation for the life that you are really here to lead and the contribution that you're here to make? Thanks so much for being here with me today for What's New with Human Design. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. And if you would like to book a reading with me, you can find out more about me and my work at sovereigntybydesign.com. Many blessings, much love. Bye for now. Thanks so much for being here with me today for What's New with Human Design. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. And if you would like to book a reading with me, you can find out more about me and my work at sovereigntybydesign.com. Many blessings, much love. Bye for now.